Hey guys, welcome back. So today I've got a tutorial video for you and I'm going to show you how to replace any standard single coil pickup with one of these cool single coil sized dual rail humbuckers. I love these pickups and the coolest thing about them is the price. These are basically modeled after a Seymour Duncan Hot Rails pickup, but these generic ones you can buy on eBay or Amazon for like $12 or $13. I'll put some links in the video description as always. Now, for some things I do like single coil pickups, but when it really comes down to it, for the styles of playing that I do the most often, I really like humbuckers. I really prefer the humbucker tone, the thickness of it, and so forth. And so basically, when you swap in one of these dual rail humbuckers in place of a single coil, this is the easiest way to switch out a single coil for a humbucker. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started and check it out. Okay, so the guitar I'm going to do this on today is this awesome George Lynch. This is a GL200 ESP LTD model. And it's got actually a really cool setup. It's kind of unique. It's a push-pull pot for the pickup selector switch, so there's no toggle switch on here. And I did an unboxing video on this just recently. Now, if you look here at the pickups, of course, we've got a humbucker in the bridge and a single coil, just an ESP brand single coil in the neck position. Now, there's nothing wrong with this pickup for a single coil. It sounds really good, actually. But as I mentioned earlier, I generally, for a lot of things, I prefer humbuckers. And if I'm going to be using this as a shred guitar, which I am, then I do prefer a humbucker. So, just as an example, I've got my Fender HM Strat right here, and I've already done this mod on this guitar. You can see it right there. This is the exact same pickup. Again, $12, $13 pickup, really inexpensive. And just to clarify here, this is not a review of the pickup. I've actually already done that. I'll put a link for that down in the video description below. But this is just a tutorial on how to do the pickup swap. And like I said, this is the easiest way to put a humbucker in place of a single coil. Okay, so if we just take a quick look at the tools we're going to need here, you're going to need a screwdriver. I've got one of these electric ones, just a bit of a time saver, but of course you can use just a traditional Phillips head screwdriver. For this guitar, because it's got a Floyd Rose on it, I've got the Allen wrench to unlock the nuts for the Floyd Rose. I also have another little time saver. This thing you can put on here, and that's for your tuners, right? And then we've got a little bit of solder, which you might not actually need depending on how much solder is on the guitar already. And then I've got my cheapo soldering iron over here, which is warming up. Now you can't see it on the main camera, but I've got my GoPro over here, and this is running at a high resolution, so hopefully I'll be able to punch in and give you guys some close-up shots of the soldering and so forth. But if we go ahead and get started here, the first thing you're going to want to do on this guitar is just take off the tremolo arm. Of course, you don't have to do that if you got a standard bridge or something. But I'm just going to show you a few little tricks that I do, kind of time savers. But we'll go ahead and just remove the back cavity plate here. Okay, we'll put the screws off to the side there. You don't want to lose any of that stuff. Okay, so now we'll just take off this back cavity plate here. And this guitar actually has remarkably simple controls because it just has that one switch. But basically what we're going to want to look for in here is we're going to want to identify what the wiring is for the neck pickup. Now the routing here is set up so all of the pickup cables come through this one hole right here that go into the pickup cavities. So now the issue is we don't want to mess with any of the other wiring. We only want to change the wiring for the neck pickup. So now what I'd like to do, flip the guitar over. I'm going to go ahead and undo the locking nuts here, but I'm just going to loosen them. You don't actually want to remove them, and this is a little bit of a time saver that I'm going to show you guys here. Okay, so these are loose. Now you can flip the guitar over again and remove the cavity plate for the tremolo springs. Okay, so again, let's set the screws off to the side here. So now we're going to remove this. Okay, now we're actually going to put the arm back on here. And basically what we're doing is I want to remove the entire bridge with the strings still attached, because that's going to let us not have to restring the guitar when we're switching out the pickup. We can move the bridge, all the strings attached, just move it out of the way. Now we'll have access to the pickup, but we don't have to completely redo the strings. Okay, so now with the arm on here, you flip the guitar over, you pull the arm back so it reduces the tension on the springs, and now you can actually just pull these springs out with your hand while you're holding the arm. Now you can let go of the arm. Now the bridge comes up. Now what we'll have to do is reduce the tension on the strings just a little bit more. So we've already done those, we've already unlocked the nuts here. So I'm just going to use this thing. Okay, so I loosened the strings, turn it back around here, make it a little bit easier, and now the bridge, you should be able to just take the bridge completely out. Okay, just like that. So now just, be careful with it. You can set it off to the side there. But now we have access to the pickups, both on the front of the guitar and also the wiring in the back, and we never had to actually remove the strings from the guitar. Okay, so now we can go ahead and loosen the pickup. Just a couple of screws. So we'll go ahead and lift these screws out here, and you can actually kind of leave the pickup in the guitar, because what we want to do is grab the pickup and we want to be able to kind of tug on it a little bit. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm pulling on the pickup with one hand, I'm holding onto the wires with the other hand, and by doing that I can feel which are the exact wires that go to that pickup. The whole point of this is that you can do it without understanding anything about the wiring diagram that's used for the guitar. Okay, now I'm going to kind of push the pickup back into the guitar here, just because I don't want to damage the finish. Flip it back over. So now I know that the two wires for this pickup, this black one right here, and this white one. So I'm just going to unsolder those two. And in this case, the black is the ground. It's common ground. You can see it going to the other ground wires here. The white is the hot wire. So I'm going to get my soldering iron here, and I've already got this nice and warmed up. So I'm just going to press that right onto this solder point there. Okay, so that's the ground wire. That's off. And now this one, I kind of have to reach down here a little ways, and I'm going to sort of tug on the white wire as I apply, there we go, as I apply the soldering iron, the heat to it. So now I've got both those wires undone. And one little trick you can do, if you're worried about the wiring when you put the new pickup back in, just take a picture of the old wiring the way it was. But in this case, I can remember, where I undid the two wires here. So now that that's undone, you can pull, there we go, pull the pickup out. That comes right out. Okay, so now we can look at our new pickup here. This nice dual rail, single coil sized, that's the key. So this is going to fit right in that same body cavity there. And then we've got some wires. Okay, but let's take a look at these wires here, because what's going on? We only had two wires on the last pickup, but we've got like, I don't know, 6. These two are connected here. We've got that one and a red and white. What do we do with all these wires? Well, the big difference here is that this is a humbucker. So the red and white wire, these are for the two separate coils in the humbucker. These are already soldered together. But if you wanted to do coil splitting, you could unsolder these and then hook them up to a little toggle switch or something like that. In this case, I'm not going to use it for that. We're just doing a straight replacement, a humbucker in place of the original single coil. Now, these two wires, these are ground wires. So you're going to connect these to where the old black wire was connected. And this one, which is actually black, is you're going to connect it to where the white wire used to be. And one thing that's kind of cool is they put a little solder on here already, so it's going to be pretty easy to solder these on and connect them. Okay guys, so the next part of the video is going to involve sort of threading the needle, right? Kind of putting the wires through the body so we can connect them. But real quick guys, if you guys enjoy videos like this, you know, tutorials and affordable gear reviews and so forth, and you have not already subscribed, please consider subscribing right now. Okay, so now let's turn the guitar back over again. And what we're going to have to do for this situation, because the pickup we're replacing is over here, the wiring is going to go through the body. It's actually going to go underneath the bridge pickup. So what we're going to have to do is remove or at least somewhat loosen the bridge pickup so we can get that up. It'll make it a lot easier to get the wiring underneath it. So we'll just go ahead and take these two screws out. Okay, and then the pickup will just lift up there. And, you know, again, I'm not going to pull it out the entire way. I'm just going to sort of set it out of the way right in the bridge cavity there. Now, what we can do is put these wires through this hole that goes underneath where it goes through the body. What I like to do is sort of twist these together. Makes it a lot easier, and we'll feed it in to this hole here. That's what she said. And it goes through, comes through, you can pull it through, and then right in here, there's another hole in the body, and that is the one that goes into the control cavity. So we'll just do the same thing, put it through, it goes right in there. And real quick guys, in this case, the old pickup has a piece of foam on the bottom. I'm going to peel that off. I'm going to reuse that. And that's just to help get the pickup at the right level because this compresses a little bit. Now, not all companies will do that. If it's like a Strat type pick guard, it's going to have springs and actually even a lot of just where it has a solid body top like this one. Sometimes they'll use springs in there, but I'm just going to reuse this in this situation. So I'll put that on there. Now we'll just pull the wiring all the way through and push the pickup down in there, right about there. And then we can go ahead and put the screws back in that hold the pickup in. We can also do the same thing now. We can put the humbucker back in, right where it was. Okay, now we've got the pickups in. So now we'll flip it over and let's go ahead and solder up the new wiring here. So keep in mind that unless you're going to do coil splitting, the white and red wire, you're not going to use them. But these are still exposed. So potentially, if the exposed wire is just knocking around inside the cavity, you could create a situation where it, you know, shorts out against something here. That's not dangerous, but it could screw up the tone of the guitar. So you want to use either some shrink wrap tubing to cover that up or just some electrical tape. Now in this case, I've got a little piece of heat activated shrink wrap tubing. So I'm just going to slip it over those wires. And you can take a like a lighter or a match or anything like that and just melt that. And it will shrink right over the top of the wires. There you go. All right, now the other wires, basically there's just this black one, which is going to replace the old white wire, which is the hot wire. And then you've got these two that are twisted together, and these two are going to go to the ground connection where the old black wire was. So in this case, it's not black goes to where black was, but it's actually black goes to where white was. And then the two wires that are twisted together, those go where the old black wire was. So I'm going to do the hot wire, or the old white one, because that's a little more challenging. It's a little bit further down there. I want to do that first. We'll just get out the old soldering iron here, place it in there. Okay. Now what's cool about this is there's actually enough solder on the new wire and the existing solder that I didn't even actually have to add any new solder, so that kind of simplifies things. But you know, obviously just having some extra solder on hand is useful in case you do need to add some. Okay, so the hot wire is done. Now I just have to connect the ground. Okay, and so I'll go ahead and connect that. That's this connection right up on top here. So I'll place those together and apply some heat. Being careful not to touch the soldering iron onto the edge of the body. And yeah, see, actually for this one I am going to need a little extra solder. So I'll just melt that in there. Okay. There we go. Okay, so the new wiring is connected. So now we just have to flip this over, and let's go ahead and put the bridge back in. So just make sure all of your strings are straightened out there, and that slips in there onto the posts first. Now what you can do, make sure you've got all your strings lined up here. Now you can do that same trick again, so flip it over, and we're just going to reverse that process of removing the springs. We'll hold the arm, the tremolo arm, and put the springs onto the block. Okay. There's 3 of them. Okay. All right. I'm going to take the tremolo arm off, and let's put these cavity plates back on. We can go ahead and put both of them back on for the trem and the controls. Okay, so we've got the cavity plates back on, the bridge is back in, the strings are still on the guitar. So now the only thing left to do is to tune it up and test it out. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Again, if you want to replace a single coil for a humbucker, that is the easiest way to do it. I've done it on many of my guitars, again, just because I like the humbucker tone, the sort of the thickness and robustness of it for so much of my playing. Now, I still prefer single coils for some other things, but I just find myself doing that swap a lot and wanted to do a tutorial on it. So again, if you want to see a review, like a more in-depth review, A-Bing and stuff of that pickup, I have that in a previous video that I did. And yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. You know, if you did, please subscribe if you haven't already. Thumbs up, all that good stuff, and I'll see you soon.